So doing free work. Should you, as a creative or a designer, whatever it is that you're doing, should you do free work? The conversation of doing free work is fairly contentious. It's fairly divisive. But I want to take a moment and explain why I think it's not a bad thing to do free work. And more importantly, maybe give you some tips about, if you decide to do free work, how to go about it in a way that you don't kind of lose your soul to it, so to speak. Let's get started. I think in the creative industry, pro bono work is kind of this thing that some people do it, some people don't, and there's not really any kind of general consensus on whether or not it's a good thing. So I want to talk about why I do pro bono work, and I've taken on pro bono work for a lot of time over the last couple of years of my professional experience, and some things that I've learned about doing it so that you can do it and have fun, and it can be something that you feel good about doing and that you really enjoy doing, but it's not something that you lose your life to. You don't lose your soul to doing it. So the first tip is that, in my experience, the best people to do pro bono work for are smaller nonprofits. So smaller local nonprofits that are doing something in your city. Maybe it's a humane society, a homeless shelter, a church, something along those lines. And really, the reason for that is because they often can't afford the high-end creative or high-end design or whatever it is, but also because they are probably going to need it a lot more than a really big nonprofit, and certainly a for-profit business is going to be able to and should pay for any creative work they get done. So my suggestion is to talk to local nonprofits if you're looking to do pro bono work, if you want to kind of give back. And even just the phrase pro bono is like, doing something of goodwill or giving back, without getting anything in return. And there's not really, in my opinion, there's no better fit for that than doing it for an organization that's already giving back to your community. However, on top of that, I will say that just like not all clients are created equal, not all nonprofits, pro bono clients, are created equal. So really do your homework and make sure that the company that you're looking for or the organization that you're looking at doing work for is a good, legit organization to work for. I find that, obviously, if you do creative work for one of these companies, it's like putting your kind of creative stamp of approval on this organization and the things that they say, the things that they do, the things they're about. So just make sure you're doing your research, doing your homework on the organization before you definitely hop into doing a pro bono project with them or for them. Really get a feel for the people. Now, this is kind of tails off of tip 1, but really make sure that you're going in and understanding what the organization is about, who is working there, who you'll be working with. If you're going to be working with, maybe one of the managers, maybe it's the owner, maybe it's the person who's leading it day to day, maybe it's a volunteer, maybe it's somebody who is not even on paid staff there. So make sure you know who you're going to be working with, and make sure you have a really good idea of what that person is like, what the team is like, what the team dynamic is like. The thing with nonprofits is that they can be somewhat disorganized and a little chaotic sometimes, and so you just need to take that into consideration. Is that going to be something that bothers me? If it is, how can I set expectations around that? How can I work through that, even if that is something that I still decide I want to do? So tip 1, obviously, I prefer working with local nonprofit organizations. Tip 2 is just do your homework on them. Go in, talk to them, get coffee with them, get to know the team a little bit before you jump into a project. Really create some really good guardrails or guidelines. So, whether that's around number of revisions they're going to get on a video, on a page of a website, or on an element within a logo, whether or not that's going to be, I'm going to work for you this number of hours per week. You can contact me on these days at this time. Really putting some parameters around how and when you are available and what you're going to do for them. That not only makes it more understandable for them so they know what they're getting themselves into when they're working with a professional creative, but it's also good for you that you can say, listen, I'm giving back, but I really can't give more than this. I really can't do more than this. But if you want me to do more than this, here's my hourly rate. Here's what that's going to cost if you decide that you want more hours, more revisions, more pages on the website, a longer video, whatever that might be. So it's really important to put some really great guidelines and just structure around your agreement, either in an SOW format, a contract, whatever that might be for you. Just make sure you're taking that into consideration with what and how much you're willing to give and able to give. So tip 4 is probably my favorite of all of these. Obviously, it's really important to know who you're working for, what you're going to be doing, why you're doing it, those types of things. Those are things that you should be doing as general requirements gathering for any type of creative project. But the thing that I really enjoy about doing pro bono work is that I get to kind of stretch myself creatively. I find that I can be a little bit more exploratory with my creative process. I can do things that I've seen maybe floating around on Dribbble. Maybe I've seen a new logo that I really like and I want to try some of those elements. Maybe I've seen a new website I want to try some things for, and maybe it's a new music selection for a video. Whatever that might be, that things that I might not be able to do for a paying full-time client or for my full-time job or whatever that might be. These are things that I can feel like I have a little bit more room to creatively flex. Now, that's not an excuse to do whatever I want. I don't really just go in and do crazy willy-nilly things that don't fit the market, they don't fit the target demographic, they're just not, totally out of left field. I don't do that kind of stuff, but I do think it's a really good opportunity, often an underused opportunity, to kind of stretch yourself and try some things you wouldn't normally get to try, be that new typefaces, music selection, camera type, editing style, whatever that might be. It can be a good opportunity to stretch yourself and play a little bit, and especially if you can set that expectation up front. You say, listen, I'm going to be doing this work for free, and so I want to be able to get a little bit of creative exploration out of it. It's going to be a little bit different in my portfolio or on my website or on Dribbble or whatever that might be. So it's a good opportunity to really kind of stretch yourself a little bit outside the realm of what you normally might do. So the last tip I'm going to give you, the last piece of advice here, is to treat it like any other client. And now I know that sounds obvious. I know that sounds like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to treat it like any other client. But it can be really easy if you're not being paid to push it off, to say, I don't need to worry about it. They're not paying me. I'm going to push it off. I'm going to delay it another week. I'm going to delay it a couple days. Don't necessarily do that. I think, like most projects, it's okay to reschedule or push your deadline maybe 2 or 3 times, but beyond that, you don't really want to do that super frequently. Just like any other project, you want to make sure you're communicating appropriately. Is it a weekly basis? Is it every other week? Is it twice a week? How often are you communicating? What kinds of communication methods are you using? How are you using those? You want to make sure that you're still treating this pro bono client just like you would any other paying client. Because honestly, pro bono clients often can lead to other great work opportunities. If you do a really great job, the people that you're working with will take note. And if again, setting proper expectations going in, they will know, hey, this person is looking for freelance work. I know this business owner who may need a new logo, new website, whatever that might be, a video. Let me hook them up, and maybe that can be a paid project for them. Again, it's all about expectations going in and doing that well. It's really important, I think, to give back from a creative perspective to organizations and people that are really deserving and need it. And I think it's just as important to do your research, to do your homework, and to set expectations accordingly. But it can be really fun and can be a really great creative outlet and maybe even be a portfolio builder. So thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. If you like it, I hope you'll consider subscribing. I intend to do more videos like this. If there's something else you want to see me do a video about, I'd love to hear that in maybe a comment, or you can reach me on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching.